Welcome to another edition of the day after. We're going to be recapping the Panthers win. This time on the road. That's right, getting our first road victory of the year against the Jets. It was an ugly game, pretty much from start to finish, but an ugly win is still a win at the end of the day, and I'm happy we're able to pull it out. This puts us at 4-3 on the year, and actually we are now second place in the division. With the Falcons lost yesterday. They lost to the Niners, so I think they're like 3-4 or something, or 3-3, I think, because they already had their bye. But technically, we're only one game out of the division lead because the Bucs currently have 5 wins. So if the Bucs lose tonight, currently recording this Monday before the Monday Night Football game they have against the Lions, right? If they lose, then that kind of puts us in a good position, which is all I wanted. When I stated in my season preview, I said I just wanted us to be competitive within the division. 7-8 wins, right? I said that none of the teams in the division are like leaps and bounds above anybody else. That's not like the Saints. But granted, I think the Buccaneers, especially if they win tonight on the road in Detroit, I do think they are kind of a step above the rest of the teams in the division. But the Bucs have been kind of squeaking out wins. Not like they've been dominating opponents. So again, if we're competitive in the division in that 7-9 win range, I think the season will be a success, but it's still a lot of season to go. Let's just focus on this game right here against the Jets. Like I said, it was our first win on the road and our first 3-game win streak since 2022. And it's also our first time over 500, I think, of 3 years as well. So a lot of, important milestones were crossed yesterday with that win. But as Canales always preaches, it's just this win. We got to get right back to work come Monday. It's not like, there's no disrespect to the Jets. It's not like they were a world-class opponent. We had to go in there and get the job done against a motivated Steve Wilks defense, and I'm happy we were able to pull it out. But as always, let's start with the bad takeaways. Not too many bad takeaways similar to last week. A couple, though. Third down, we were only 5 for 17. I would like to see that number at a much better percentage. Granted, a lot of this within context. The Jets' defense isn't that bad. Even though the record is 0-7, that defense is actually pretty stout. So I wasn't expecting us to kind of run all over them like kind of we did with the Cowboys and the Dolphins, whose defenses aren't really that good. But the Jets' defense is actually pretty solid. But at the end of the day, 5 or 17 on third downs, that's not going to win you a lot of games. Going forward, I like to see us kind of maneuver, maybe scheme up some better play calls in order to get those conversions. And a lot of the times we put ourselves in, third and long situations, compared to last week when the run game was really, working and popping. A lot of those times it was, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, so it was easy to get those third down conversions. In addition to the play calling was questionable at sometimes. Specifically, it was this 4th down, and I think it was like 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. It was either 4th or 3rd down, but we did like a toss to Rico on the side, or it was like either a toss or pass. I forget the exact play, pardon me, but in either case, I would just like for Rico to just run up the middle in that instance. Just a couple of the play calls that had me kind of scratching my head. But overall, like I said, the Jets defense, I think you have to give credit to that unit because they are not slouches. So it's not entirely the play calling. It's, the Jets defense. And like I said, Steve Wilks, our former interim coach, they were going to be out there motivated. So I can't, just kind of be dismissive of our offensive struggles. The Jet defense is pretty stout. And probably the biggest bad takeaway is the Bryce Young injury, which kind of had, I didn't even realize he got injured until I saw him walking to the back. And he, thankfully he was walking under his own 2 feet, but he was seen in a boot after the game. Coach said it was like a minor ankle injury. Initially, he was questionable to return, but then he just ruled him out just to play it safe, which I do believe was a smart move. You got to think long term here. At that point, we were up like 13-3, and thankfully, our defense really held down the fort. And I'll speak to the defense, how great a job they did in a second. But just speaking on Bryce's injury, hopefully it's nothing too serious. I think the X-rays did come back negative, so hopefully a speedy, efficient recovery. We don't want to rush him back. It's not like we're on, some deep playoff push right now. We got to think long term here. So take your time, get back. Andy looked a little shaky. Obviously, it's his first game playing in I don't know how long, but hopefully he has, a week of practice with the first unit. And he kind of gets more in a rhythm with a lot of the guys. Now, The good takeaways, man. I think you got to start with the defense. This was a group defensive effort, man. Derek Brown had 2 sacks. Nick Scorton had a sack and a half, getting his first sack of the year. Ashawn Robinson had a sack. Princely had a sack. Man, it really was just a total collective unit. And a lot of y'all owe Evero an apology, man, because I criticize Evero. You know, I'm not going to be holding it now. I did criticize him, especially, last year. But I also said at the same time, we suffered a lot of injuries, man. And I needed to see what he could do with a fully healthy unit, a fully healthy team. The defense really shouldered a lot of the responsibility for winning this game because we weren't really counting on Andy Dalton to, God forbid, like say we got down late in the game. Because Tyrod Taylor was actually kind of just making the offense on the Jets look a little more, competent, and they were moving the ball down the field. But credit to that defense, man, Evero and their schemes. They kind of made sure momentum did not go too far, and they were able to score touchdowns. I think they only got a field goal in the second half, and we were able to, kind of hold them. But yeah, just a total unit, man. Like I said, Nick Scorton got a sack. Nick Scott had 7 tackles. He built off the momentum he had off last game, man. Mike Jack has some very important pass deflections. But yeah, just a total group effort, man. I think even Latham Race, his name always just messes with me, but Ransom had a important sack and was all over the place as well. And yeah, just a total group effort, man. Derek Brown, I think, is really trying to submit his nod for an all-pro selection this year, man. He's been dominant and super integral to our run defense and defense in general. And we see why our run defense last year was so lacking without him on the field. And he is a true difference maker. And hopefully he stays a Panther forever. But of course, we can't talk about the defense without talking about J.C. Horn, arguably the star of the whole show with his 2 interceptions, man. Both of those super impressive. And both of those coming at really crucial moments. I think the first one, he had the one-hander, which was going to be a pass to, I forget the Jets wide receiver, but I think Tyrod threw that up. And JC just cut in front of him, man, made a beautiful play, shutting down all the Jets momentum there. And then he came back, they threw to him again, and he just made like this. He was looking at the ball, caught it, just cut in front of the ball. Man, great play by J.C. Horn, man. I think he said that was his first double interception game since college. That he never had one in the NFL before. So shout out to him, man. He's proven himself to be one of the top corners of the league and worth every penny that we paid for him. A lot of people maybe criticize what he got paid because, his injury proneness or whatever. But he was always that dude when he was healthy. He's certainly proving it now, man. So big shout out to J.C. Horn. To the offensive side of the ball, we got to highlight Xavier Legette. That's another person y'all owe an apology to because after those first 2 games, y'all was saying trade Legette and bench him and he was garbage, yada, yada, yada. And, hey, I was the level. I was saying, hey, he might have looked a little shaky, but let's give him an opportunity to get his mind right or whatever and do what he needed to do. I still have faith in him, and he's been proving me right these last 2 weeks. Last week, he had the big touchdown. Oh, no, I think it was against the Dolphins he had the touchdown. Last week he had a big play on, I think, 3rd down or 4th down. This one he had the only touchdown of the game. And comment on that as far as Bryce's patience on that play was fantastic, man. You saw him, he didn't force anything. He waited around, used his feet to kind of extend the play a little bit, waited for his receivers to make plays. And shout out to Xavier for, kind of still being involved in the play and making a way for his QB. Finished for 9 catches, 92 yards, man. Big day. Probably his best game as a pro. And yeah, man, y'all owe that boy an apology. Hopefully he can build off of this as well. In addition, I'd say he made that big catch in the 4th quarter to basically seal the game, man. Like I said, he had a really big day, and I'm happy for him. Hopefully, like I said, he just continues to build off of this momentum. And he really continues to break out and shine. On the offensive side of the ball, got to give credit to both of the running backs. Chuba and Rico combined for 36 carries, 125 yards. It wasn't the 200-yard day that, Rico's been having these couple of weeks. But I think context is important here when we look at that stat because a lot of people are saying, oh, Chuba should start, Rico should start. It really don't matter, people. Like, who cares who starts? I understand, setting the tone or whatever. And if it's abundantly clear that Rico is going to be that better option, then yeah, he should start. But Rico got more carries at the end of the day, so to me, it doesn't really matter. And that means the fact that we're kind of switching out both backs. This game, it was like every other series, like Chuba would do a series and Rico would do a series. This way, we're extending our lifespan of our running backs, right? We're not running them into the ground. So going forward, I do think I would like to see them maybe switch up the usage in the same series, right? Let's say like Chuba runs 2 plays, and even let's say he breaks out for a big run, then we get Rico back in and we're able to continue to run that ball. So I'll be interested to see how they scheme them going forward. But as far as starting goes, I really don't care who starts. They're both really good running backs here. The usage, like I said, Rico had more carries than Chuba, so who cares who starts at the end of the day? Let's focus on efficiency and health for both of these guys. But at the end of the day, shout out to them. They got 36 for 125, helped get us a win. That Jets defense is stout. So Rico was probably not going to get 200 plus yards anyway, or even Chuba, right? That's why it was nice to have a collaborative effort between the two. Now, going forward versus the Bills, this is probably going to be our biggest test of the season by far. The Bills are kind of viewed as Super Bowl contenders. They're coming off of a bye week, and the week before that, they actually lost to the Saints in Atlanta, right? Like 24-14 or something like that. It was a really rough day for Josh Allen. And that Bills team is going to come into Bank of America Stadium motivated, right? They're going to come in with a purpose, something to prove here. Want to have a bounce back game after, the Falcons lost, right? And it's going to be really interesting to see how we respond to what is supposed to be one of the better teams in the NFL. Things going to be looking out for: how are we going to apply pressure against that Bills run defense? They are one of the weakest run defenses in the league, statistically, allowing over like 150 yards per game. And we've seen our history recently with, Rico Dowdle having 200 plus yards against a couple of other bad run defenses with the Cowboys and the Dolphins. So now that we have Rico and Chuba back, I would like to see us really focus on running the ball, right? I mean, at least 15 to 20 carries per running back. I mean, Rico and Chuba, we need to get them at least 15 to 20 carries. That way we can really set up our running game, and it makes everything else easier, right? Taking a lot of pressure off, potentially Andy Dalton or Bryce Young, so we're not asking them to kind of overcompensate. But we really need to be run focused in that game. Like I said, 15 to 20 carries minimum for each of those backs. In addition, can we put pressure on Josh Allen? We got a bunch of sacks this game. That's really good, but that Bills O-line is kind of, pretty good. It's one of the better O-lines in the league. And we can't allow Josh Allen to sit back there and be comfortable, maybe use his legs to create more plays. And we can't allow him to just pick apart. We can't afford him, the time that we could afford, let's say like a Justin Fields or something, or Tyrod Taylor, for example. This is Josh Allen. This is the reigning MVP for a reason. Another point is going to contend on Bryce's healthiness. Assuming he's healthy, assuming he's healthy, he's good to go. Is going to be able to keep up with Josh Allen, right? We know they can put points on the board. Can we, as an offense, keep up with that? This is basically going to be a showdown between, or it's going to be billed as a showdown between Bryce Young versus Josh Allen. How is Canales' play calling going to mesh with, the balancing of Chuba and Rico, and then also, getting Bryce Young, or whoever the quarterback is, like Andy Dalton, right? In either case, how are we going to be able to keep up with that Bills offense? Or are we just going to kind of once again put a lot of responsibility on the defense to just slow Josh Allen down and kind of keep his numbers to a minimum, him in that offense? And James Cook, by the way, he's another great running back, so we can't just ignore him as well. But how are we going to slow down those two X-factor players and really minimize their opportunities to, score and make big plays? All that being said, though, my prediction, I love to err on the side of optimism. I do think this is a winnable game. My prediction, though, is going to be 30 to 24 Bills. I just think the Bills, coming off that bye, they're going to be a little bit extra motivated. I think this will be our first loss at home. But at the same time, if we win this game, I would not be the most surprised. Like I said, the Bills' run defense is not good, and that's what we've been thriving under, is running the ball. And the Bills, they just lost to the Falcons by 10, and they're not this gargantuan opponent. They are, contenders, right, on paper, or at least going into the season. But I think the thing we've noticed in the NFL this season, that who knows what team is good and what team is, bad, or what team is contenders or whatnot. Every team is kind of beatable, more or less. So I do think this is a winnable game for us. I just don't think we can pull it out. I think Josh Allen maybe has a late touchdown or something like that. But 30 to 24 is my prediction. I'm going to pick the Bills in this one, but I'm going to state again, I would not be surprised if we were able to pull out a win. And if we do, man, that's gonna put us at what, 5-3 on the season. And then assuming, let's say the Bucks lose tonight or whatever, and then we'd be tied for damn near first in the division. So it's a big opportunity for us to make a statement here. Bryce is healthy, so we can kind of see where we're really at as opposed to having Dalton in. But I'm excited for the matchup as well. It's a good time to be a Panthers fan again, man. But as always, even though these 3 wins in a row feel good, we got to get back to work. This is no time to celebrate. We haven't done anything yet. We're just 4-3. There's still a lot of season to go. And one bad game could lead us down a spiral. And I think even JC stated that, like he was 500 or, above 500 at one time, or 1-3 straight. And then, they lost like 6-7 straight. So things happen so quick in the NFL, man. So we got to get back to work, look at the film, look at places where we can improve, and come Sunday prepared, motivated, and energetic against the Bills at home. So I'm hoping for a good game. I think it'll be a great game, but of course, we'll see that recap when it happens. As always, tell me what you guys thought about this Jets game. If you're a Jets fan, how you feeling? Justin Fields got benched, which is crazy, for Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor in 2025, right? If you're a Panthers fan, let me know how you feeling about the season with these 3 straight wins. How you feeling going up against Josh Allen and the Bills? Let me know. Let's have a conversation. As always, this is Louis from Dark Grapes. Stay hydrated, stay moisturized. I'm out. Peace.